and welcome to Guidepost in Motion, a podcast highlighting risk, compliance, and security professionals with insights meant to keep you, your business, and operations moving forward. My name is Susannah Herkert, and I'm a Senior Director with Guidepost Solutions. In today's podcast, we are going to talk about the guide compliance model. Lou, as you mentioned earlier in our previous podcast, DEA registrants try to do the right thing, but are often unsure of how to go about closing gaps in their compliance programs to potentially avoid red flags. Companies similar to what we described in our previous podcast can close or lessen the gap on these issues and avoid such injurious situations by knowing how to address their compliance concerns.
Yes, Susannah. Hi, and it's good speaking with you again. Yeah, look, this is, broadly speaking, the difference between being proactive and being reactive. And when a company or a registrant, individual registrant, is in crisis mode and the regulator has shown up or taken an action, or the U.S. Attorney's Office or the state prosecutor or DEA, whatever entity it is, you're in crisis mode, you're dealing with now that action against the registrant. That's not a great time to all of a sudden look and see where did we go wrong? Was there an incident of diversion? What protocols do we have in place? Are there gaps in our protocol? The best thing to do for registrants that are proactive, they're going to be in a much better position. And if they can institute sound compliance protocols, monitor those protocols for improvement consistently, you can avoid, the companies can avoid, and the individuals can avoid exposures to these fines or criminal penalties, as we've discussed previously. One of the, I think, good things of having former DEA people and collaboration with you, Susannah, and our other colleagues at Guidepost Solution is we've developed the GUIDE, G-U-I-D-E compliance model. Now, what I will say is, Susannah, just again, sing your praises. When you were with the DEA at Quantico, you developed and instituted this great training program that you had support from senior leadership at DEA, and you trained DEA investigators, DEA employees, and state and federal prosecutors on the best practices for how to investigate a company, how to investigate individuals that were involved in the diversion of controlled substances. And it's important to note I'll step aside for a second, but it's important to know that process is not of, now that we know the best way to investigate those, we're going to teach registrants how to circumvent those practices or those regulations. That's not at all. The benefit of that is if companies want to be compliant and they want to find a way to keep that closed system of distribution and be compliant with the Controlled Substances Act and the CFR, the practices that you, Susannah, spoke and taught about are really critical for those companies to know. And that led to that GUIDE model, G-U-I-D-E. It's a best practices approach for compliance based upon our knowledge of how investigations are conducted and prosecuted. Susannah, you want to, since this was your baby in a sense, do you want to, speak about this in a little greater detail? I think it would be great for people to hear about.
Absolutely, Lou. And thank you. Yes, while at Quantico, we started to realize that there was definitely a need for more training on how to address the complexities of investigating pharmaceutical diversion. And the prosecutors, the agents, the investigators all wanted a roadmap, a list of how they should best go about these. So we developed kind of a best way practice on how to investigate these companies. And as Lou emphasized, it's important to note that what we've created at Guidepost Solutions is not meant to show individuals how to circumvent, but rather to ensure they're compliant with what DEA and prosecutors are looking at companies, because every registrant is different, every business practice is different. And so the GUIDE compliance model, which as Lou explained, the GUIDE, which stands for Together, Unite, Identify, Develop, and Evaluate. And as Lou mentioned in our previous podcast, there's a company culture that's involved. and in compliance as well. It's not just what's written on paper. And the gather part of our guide compliance model is going to gather everyone on the same page for compliance, because it's not just one individual who will ultimately be held accountable if something goes wrong in your compliance unit. And then we have the Unite. We want everyone in the company, from the sales individuals to the pharmacists to the practitioners to corporate management, to be on the same page for what the goals are of the compliance program. And then we're going to identify what's currently out there for their suspicious order monitoring, for their patient onboarding, for pharmacy onboarding, for different things in their compliance department. We're going to identify what is currently in place. And then we're going to develop based off that for what is specific to the company's needs, what's specific to their business practice. And then we're going to constantly evaluate to make sure that there are no gaps and that their compliance is effective and bulletproof should a regulatory agency or a prosecutor or anyone, state entities, come in to do an evaluation. And so this guide model is designed to accurately assess and remediate all aspects of a company and an individual's controlled substance compliance program. It's a cyclical process that allows for it to continue year after year. So once it's in place, the evaluation is designed to be set up yearly to make sure that standards are current, are accurate, and follow the drug trends. Pharmaceutical drug trends are constantly changing and evolving. And so making sure your compliance program detects and is aware of that is important to make sure that you remain compliant. The guide compliance model.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Susannah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. With evolving regulations, the guide model is designed to provide a cyclical assessment and refinement that will give companies and practitioners the necessary tools to prevent diversion and greatly reduce risk. And Guidepost, and as well as with DEA, our goal was always is for the safety of the public and to make sure that those who need the drugs receive the drugs, and that those that do not are not put in harm's way. So the guide model includes personalized, specific to the company, because a practitioner's compliance program is going to be vastly different than a manufacturer's compliance program. And it's designed to eliminate any potential failures and highlight best practices for each company or individual. And Lou, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, well, no, nothing really to add to that. I think that's a great explanation. I know that in practice, this is something that we've been doing for some time, but it's really a great way to delineate every single aspect of this program and this program and this offering that we have at Guidepost. I know it's been implemented for several of our clients. Can you talk a little bit about any specific ones?
Sure. I'm currently doing it with a practitioner client right now who needed is in a proactive position, which is a great position to be in. He realized that he did not have effective compliance set up within his growing practice, and based off some pharmacy letters, some insurance concerns, he realized that it was time to put some procedures in place to make sure that the staff was trained. Make sure that they have protocols that are written in their office so that if the staff changes, they're aware of what the standards and the compliance protocols are for the practitioner's office. And it's especially important with practitioners who run busy practices that might be involved as a qualifying physician or an addiction treatment doctor, and then also have other components of their practice as well. So the guide model is designed to address multiple business practices, multiple registrants, and make sure that there are no gaps in their compliance program.
Yeah, that's great, Susannah. And I know of other instances across the supply chain where we've implemented this, whether it's a distributor or a manufacturer, and it's a great way to get everyone on the same page, assess where everything is, and go all the way through the development of any remediation, and then the continual evaluation, either yearly or on a quarterly basis, to make sure that the remediation is in place, that the protocols are being followed, and that the system is just running in a very tight way. I mean, look, there's so many moving parts to maintaining compliance, no matter what your business activity is as a DEA registrant. And I think that guide compliance model is a sustainable roadmap for registrants to do it efficiently and effectively. And I think it's something that will be looked at in a proactive way to help companies stay on the right track.
I agree, Lou, and thank you, Lou, for this insightful discussion. And thank you to those who tuned in today. For more information on assessing your diversion control program or to get a guide compliance model review, please visit our website at guidepostsolutions.com.